The House this week approved a bill that would accomplish one of Governor Kevin Stitt's top priorities to give Oklahoma teachers another pay raise. But the bill was also combined with a measure to limit 4-day school weeks, pitting educators and local school districts against the legislature, and raising concerns that the teacher raise could ultimately be ruled unconstitutional by the courts.
When the legislative session began in February, lawmakers insisted that funding education and increasing teacher salaries to make them the highest paid in the region were uppermost in their minds. But the Senate Republican caucus also maintained that getting schools back to a 5-day school week also needed to be a top priority. The Senate approved and sent to the House Senate Bill 441, which would have forced schools who had adopted 4-day school weeks to justify the move or return to a 5-day-a-week schedule. That bill was later amended in the House Rules Committee, which tacked on a $1,200 teacher pay raise and would require schools to be in session no less than 1,080 hours and no fewer than 165 days each school year unless they received a waiver from the State Department of Education. Representative Shane Stone questioned whether combining those two issues is a violation of the state constitution's single subject rule for bills.
I think you and I would both agree this could just wind up in the courts and it's their job to decide. That being said, aren't you concerned that by including the teacher pay raise with something else, rather than just passing it clean on its own, at least on some level, we're jeopardizing that teacher pay raise?
House Majority Floor Leader John Echols said recent Supreme Court decisions suggest the bill would pass constitutional muster, since both issues deal with education.
In this case, we are adding additional funding to schools in the form of a teacher pay raise that will then be funded through the budget. At the same time, we're adding additional instruction days that they have to be in. The overall topic being educator-related outcomes.
Representative Rhonda Baker, who carried the bill on the House floor, told colleagues the reason for combining the issues was to stress to the Senate the importance of improving teachers' salaries.
So we wanted to just make sure that we would like to put that as a priority and for them to understand the importance of that in conjunction with the language that they find important.
While the bill does not include any additional funding to the school aid formula, Baker insisted education would be getting a funding boost when the budget process is completed.
We're working to make sure that we give these districts more money, put more money through the funding formula, work on our teachers, making sure that they're receiving the pay that they need. And so we're working hard to come from being dead last to moving to being top 10.
House Minority Leader Emily Virgin expressed concerns that the bill was more about the perception that 4-day schools are less academically rigorous.
That people think that 4-day school weeks look bad. That they think that people in other states, businesses who are looking to locate here, think that 4-day school weeks look bad. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But what looks bad is draconian cuts to education.
Virgin noted that while most other states require more instruction days than does Oklahoma, they also provide more funding for education.
You cannot talk about one without the other. You cannot add instructional days without paying for those instructional days.
And Virgin called the bill offensive to local school boards and to educators.
Is there a teacher pay raise in this bill? Absolutely, and I voted for a teacher pay raise, and I voted for many of them. But that's not what this bill is about. This bill is about holding a teacher pay raise hostage so that you can force a 5-day school week on schools.
But Representative Chad Caldwell argued that the requirements on schools were not especially onerous.
This bill is about having standards. Plain and simple, it's about having standards.
And Baker insisted they were not targeting districts that have gone to a shorter school week.
This is not an attack on a 4-day school week, because if you're doing well, you can apply for a waiver and there will not be a problem. And for those that aren't doing well, if they just will extend their calendar to meet the 165 days, that shouldn't be too hard for some districts.
Ginger Tinney, the executive director of Professional Oklahoma Educators, says this is definitely not the bill they wanted.
Well, we wanted the teacher pay raise, but no, we did not want the passage of 441 as far as what it does to the schools that have gone to a 4-day school week.
Tinney argues the decision on whether to adopt a 4-day school week should be left up to individual school districts rather than the state.
We want to maintain local control. We want the rural schools to be able to say what's working in their communities and be able to keep the 4-day school week that has worked so well in all of these communities.
Senate Bill 441 was approved by a vote of 68 to 30, but will have to go back to the Senate to approve the numerous changes made by the House to the bill.